Okay. Hi. Like Tom said, my name's Steve Kyle. They told me I was going to be doing the board inspection thing. I didn't know about this big picture of biochemistry. So if anybody has any questions on anything that's up on the board, I forgot. Okay? I have been with the board over 4 years now. I work on Tony's team on prescription drug abuse. All of the board inspectors inspect pharmacies, and we all do different types of inspections. I may give some opinions in this presentation about board inspections and pharmacy practice. Those are mine. There are over 50 board inspectors. We're all individuals. We do try and norm the inspections and what we do in our investigations, but obviously there can be some differences. You heard earlier about the statutory mandate, but basically it boils down to that our emphasis is the same as yours, and that is taking care of the patients. So that is our number one priority, as it should be your priority. So we're on the same page. There we go. Tony went over some of this having to do with how many licenses the board issues, a whole bunch to individuals, all different types, and to sites. The most common, community pharmacies. And so that is where a lot of inspections will occur. But we do inspect all these different types of facilities. And anyone here from hospital pharmacy who does sterile compounding, you see us on a regular basis then almost once a year, or pretty much exactly once a year, right? But it always surprises me when I go into a place for a sterile compounding inspection and they act like it's a surprise. They didn't know we were coming. I don't get that. Yeah, compounding, wholesalers. We also inspect wholesalers, and there are certain clinics that we inspect also. Okay, I'm gonna have a little trouble with this. There we go. Okay, the objective of this presentation is to give you an understanding of what it is that's going to happen when we show up for an inspection. It's probably not going to be the best day for us to show up. You had trouble with the kids in the morning, you're late getting to the pharmacy, there's 10 people waiting for you to open it. We're coming that day. We'll be there too. Yeah. So the objective is to give you the information to make this a little less stressful. And in your packet, there is a thing on some records you can have ready. So I'll be going over some of that, so you can have a manual or a binder, a box, some places use. I'll give you some references for pharmacy law as to where you can find this. Okay, we don't give legal opinions. You need an attorney for that. Do we have any attorneys in the room? There's one, so he'll take all your questions on the law back there. Maybe he has some discount coupons for you or something, I don't know. And also I'll talk about the differing levels of education and enforcement that we have that may come up during an inspection. Okay, so when do we inspect? Well, we want to get everywhere as often as possible, at least every 4 years, but the reality is there are too many of you, not enough of us, to get that done. So the most common reason you are going to see us, besides the sterile compounding people, are for a complaint investigation. And we have two types of those. We could have the public made a complaint, or a prescriber, a wholesaler. We get them from all different ways. A neighbor to the pharmacy, that happens. And the other is internal. Like on Tony's team, Tony is data mining, and he'll investigate a pharmacy, like he said, for over 6 months sometimes before the case is ever assigned. So that's an internal thing. Like I said, routine inspections, our goal is every 4 years. All of the inspectors have a list of routine inspections that are assigned that we have to get done. New sterile compounding, your annual wholesalers, I talked about change of location in some situations. Probationers, I'm not going to ask if anyone's on probation. The last presentation I did, there was actually someone on probation from one of my cases, so but that was nice. She sat next to me, so it was okay. She made me feel welcome, so that was good. They get inspected quarterly as a condition of their probation. Assisting other law enforcement agencies, it could be many different types, or it could be other agencies like the FDA with their compounding people. But probably for us anyway, for my team, it's mostly the DEA. And you'll know when the DEA is there. Typically with board inspectors, there'll be just one, sometimes two. But with the DEA, they like to travel with all their friends and stuff. So has anybody ever had a DEA inspection? He has, but you know how to handle it, the attorney in the room. Yeah, perfect. You had the right to remain silent, right? It's okay. The other one is as needed. So I don't know if that's come up so much for me. Some of the resources that are out there, some of these are on our website. The top ones, the California Code of Regulations, the California Business and Professions Code, and the California Health and Safety Code. You know those from the pharmacy law book. Typically, most of the sections are included in there. There is some websites up there. I can't read them, but they might be in your packet, but they certainly are on the board's website, right on the home page. You can click on those. We also use the the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR. That's where some of your inventory requirements come from, all the controlled substance stuff. And then a little less known is the United States Code. Those are the ones that I think they, like when the DEA, they charge someone, that's the code they use. So after they handcuff you, someone's worried about that, that's probably what you're being charged with. Pharmacist-in-Charge. How many of you here are the pharmacist-in-charge? I imagine quite a few, yeah. So a lot of you. So you know what that is. I think most pharmacists know what the pharmacist-in-charge is. But that is the person who is officially attached in the board's records that we've approved to be the person responsible for ensuring compliance with all state and federal regulations having to do with the pharmacy. And as you heard earlier, there's that case Tony was referring to, is the courts have decided that that is a strict liability. You can't claim, I was on vacation in Hawaii and therefore I'm not responsible. Now that might mitigate some of your responsibility, but you are, and you should view it as, this pharmacy is your responsibility. Let me see. There we go. These are the rules for designating a pharmacist in charge. They're available in the law book under these codes, but it has to be proposed by the pharmacy within 30 days of taking charge, and it has to be approved, and there's requirements for if it's not, and if you can't find one, you may need an interim pharmacist in charge. I see that probably with maternity and paternity leave, where the pharmacist is gone for a while, so they appoint a interim pharmacist in charge. And sometimes I don't see that, but I'd like to see it because I don't have anyone for 6 months, and that's not okay. They have to be employed at the location. The pharmacist in charge, it can't be the situation where I've also seen this, where the pharmacist in charge, they say, oh, he works at the other pharmacy, which is in another city. How often is he here? He's not here. That's not the pharmacist in charge. They have to be responsible for the daily operation of the pharmacy. And it is allowed to be pharmacists in charge of 2 pharmacies if they're not more than 50 miles apart. I actually did that for a year as a pharmacist. They enticed me to do it. But it was a good deal because we worked 5 days a week then. We didn't work the 12-hour days. And I had 2 days in one pharmacy and 2 days in another, and then I had a management day. But once they were both working okay, I was usually somewhere else. The owner has to vest the pharmacist in charge with adequate authority to ensure compliance with pharmacy law. And this is a very useful situation for when you're pharmacist in charge, as you are responsible, so it is perfectly okay to exercise that authority. And you might have to tell your company or your owner that, hey, you can't do that because it prevents me from doing my job. And then if you cease to act, you have to notify the board within 30 days. I would encourage you to do that on your own. I've seen a number of times where the pharmacist in charge fills out the form and they give it to their company, expecting the company to notify the board, but then they don't. So you're responsible, make a copy of it, send a copy to your company if they want it, and then send it to us, and you've fulfilled your responsibility. It is grounds for disciplinary action for not notifying the board. And then I talked about what if the pharmacist is on leave. You know, if it's over 30 days, then you'll want to appoint an interim and notify the board. What happens, I don't want my thing up there, but when the inspector arrives, okay? We all have identification. You shouldn't be allowing anyone into your pharmacy that you don't know who they are. This is our identification. Fortunately, others will have a better picture, but we all carry it and we will show it before expecting you to let us into your pharmacy. So what do we do when we first arrive at your pharmacy? Well, contacting you is not the first thing that we're probably going to do. We're lurking out around the aisles. I personally sit there and pretend like I'm texting on my phone, and your staff is very good about leaving me alone when I have my nose in my phone, because they don't want to wait on me with that going on. And what I'm looking for is, are consultations being done? Or are they doing this thing, where they're screening for consultations? This doesn't comply. And there aren't, and I'll talk later about the different levels of education and discipline, and there's a lot of gray when we'll issue a violation versus educating you or having you correct it. There's not that much leeway with consultations. It's 25 years after this law has come into effect in California, and so the period of education's kind of over. Everyone should be doing this because, again, our mandate, you and me, is to take care of the patients. And this is the best way to take care of patients, is to talk to them, and for you to use your education, training, and experience to give them some information that they wouldn't know without you talking to you. So That's kind of a hard expectation. So what else has been observed? When we arrive, we will look for your required posters, the language poster for interpretive services, the notice to consumers, your security features, that you don't have your Norco sitting there where someone can reach over and grab it. We do look for name tags. We want to know who's what. And the public has a right to know who is what. There is a law code for licensed healthcare professionals to have their status and name. We'll look for privacy, the HIPAA issues, both audio, people talking too loud, and video. I did go into a pharmacy, and you would think that in this day and age, it wouldn't happen, but they paged over the loudspeaker and they called the person by name and then said the name of the medication. And I thought it was like maybe a commercial over the thing, you know? Staffing ratios. This does come up. You know, the ratio 1 to 1, and if there's second pharmacist and you can have 2 more, you know, that whole thing. We'll look for that. And it still comes up. You know, I go into pharmacies, have before, and I'm confused. It's like, I thought that was a clerk, but they're counting. I was like, I got that wrong. But they were a clerk, they're just counting. No, the pharmacist said it was okay because they weren't filling, they were just counting. It's not okay. The other thing is professional interactions. You know, a lot of this presentation today is on prescription drug abuse and diversion. You know, you have a poster in your pharmacy, if I can get it up here. There it is. You have this poster that says at the bottom, if your medicine is not immediately available, the pharmacy will work with you so you can get it. And yet, here pharmacies say, no, we don't carry that drug. That's, you know, if you don't want to fill it for some reason, that's fine. You know, you can exercise your professional judgment not to fill a prescription, especially controlled substances. And you know, if you feel you need to protect yourself by creating a fabricated story, you can fabricate anything you want for your safety. We don't care. But as a matter of practice, you shouldn't be engaging in that kind of thing. Okay, did I go too far? No. Okay, what do we ask for? So in your thing, you'll have a big long list, and this gets its own category, a self-assessment. This is your best tool to ensure compliance. The best self-assessments, the best one I can think of, it was actually on an annual renewal for a sterile compounding inspection, so they know we're coming. And it's a new PIC, and she has a self-assessment on her desk. It's dog-eared, it has yellow highlighter in it, and I was there all day long because she had a long list of questions that she wanted to talk about, and that's great. We're not going to leave until that's all done.
Got mine right now.
Right there.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. Perfect. Mark it up. So you have to use, you're required by the code to use a specific self-assessment, but the board would encourage you to use the most current, because there are some new laws that have taken effect that might not be in the older versions. So use the new draft one. It'll say draft across it, but it's totally fine to use. All of our site licenses, the PIC, or the designated representative in the case of certain types of licenses, is required to do this within 30 days of taking the position, and then by July 1st of every odd year. He's going to be working on it a few months, which is why he started now, I think. And you have to have that on file for 3 years. I actually very recently was in a pharmacy, and the last self-assessment that was completed was 2009. And the pharmacist kept saying to me, well, the board, because there was a lot of things that weren't right. He says, well, the board never told me. They should have told me. A little frustrating for me, because I'm like, it's on your self-assessment. Or at least it would be if you did it. And on that self-assessment is this is the way it's laid out, is you evaluate yourself and you answer yes, no, be honest. It would be very unusual if a place could never have a no. We don't do that. But that's what you mark. You mark no, and then you write how you're going to fix it, because you are signing under the penalty of perjury that the information on there is correct, and if there are any deficiencies noted, you're just signing that you'll fix them. But I've actually used as evidence in my case the self-assessment where the pharmacist said, yes, we're doing this right, and they weren't, and they signed that they were, and they never had. But okay, what else will we ask for? We might ask for identification and actual licenses. You heard a news story recently where a pharmacist was working in a pharmacy who wasn't a pharmacist, who was impersonating another pharmacist, hired by a pharmacy, had the license number and everything. So we might ask for your license, we might ask for identification. I do ask for this as a master list of initials, because when I look at, for prescription drug abuse purposes, I want to know who filled these prescriptions. And I also want to know that 3 years from now, when the whole staff changes, that I can use a list to determine who did. You know, normally when you go into pharmacies, they say, oh, well, that squiggle is Joe, and this one is Mary. You have to have this. Power of attorney, your controlled substance inventory, your DEA required biennial inventory, it's also required by us. We'll ask for that. We'll ask for C2 invoices, and with the corresponding 222 form or your CSAUS record that has been reconciled and notes what came in. And you understand that's a requirement in CSAUS to go in, log in, and actually note, just like in the place of the 222 form where you had to do each line because the DEA would hit you for $14,000 for each one you didn't. Cures reporting confirmation. Depends. If it's an issue, we might ask for it. We have ways to check cures directly, so we might do that. We will ask about your Board of Pharmacy subscriber alert. The same pharmacist who told me the board should have told me, I asked him, do you get the board subscriber alerts? Because the pharmacist, that's how we tell pharmacists. And he says, yeah, I do, but I don't read them, I don't have time. Okay. I'm like, okay, we should have called you, I guess. I don't know. And we will look at your invoices, and especially on my team, we will look at your prescription documents, because remember, most of the inspections have to do with an investigation. We do prescription drug abuse investigations, so I'm looking at hard copies. What else will we ask for? And these are all on that list. Some of your policies that are listed, we will. Quality assurance, I underlined because you should have your quality assurance procedure, and you should have medication error reports. And then the third thing you should have with that is your medication error report reviews, where you have reviewed your reports individually and collectively and document who was involved in that review, and all those should be there. It's not very realistic to say, oh, we fill 300 or 400 prescriptions a day, and no, we've never had a prescription error, so we don't have any reports. You guys wouldn't believe that either, probably, would you? Off-site storage waiver, because we will look at your record storage. Everything should be there, or you should have a waiver. Your controlled substance reconciliation reports, that's a new law you're going to hear about. Tony talked about it, but we will be looking at those reports to see the PIC reviewed it, it was documented who did it, and that you actually balanced, you looked at your starting point, what came in, what went out, what you should have, and what do you really have, and that you report any drug losses. What else is inspected? I think a lot of people think of us as the clean police or something, that we're gonna go out and, but it's not our main purpose. It does come up, we see crazy stuff. That's, yeah. There are inspectors who've probably seen worse than that. That was just one I had. And then this water faucet. The standard shouldn't be like, oh, I'm worried about the board coming in. You should be worried about your patients seeing this. And, when you're reconstituting the antibiotic, don't worry about me, worry about the child's mother seeing what's being put in their medication. What else do we inspect? Prescription labels. There's all sorts of requirements on that with 12-point font and in a certain order, takes up 50% of the label, and now says generic for. It has to be on there in a certain order, so we will look at that. Expiration dates. This is amazing how much you run into this, and especially out of the technology in the pharmacy from Script Pro and Uyama and all that. So you shouldn't have out-of-date drugs. They should be quarantined till you can send them to a reverse distributor. Blister packs. I actually, just the other day, they had a box of blister pack cards, and I went to, and they didn't look like they had a label on it, but they looked like they had pills, and I took it out, and there's probably 5 or 6 in each cell. I didn't know it wasn't sealed. They spill all over the place. They have boxes of these things that are for patients for the future or something, but they're not labeled, so I don't know how they're doing it. Well, actually, I do know now because I'm investigating it, but we'll look at your documents. We'll look at your records. We'll look at your procedures. Drug take-back, there's new laws on that you're going to hear about. This kind of thing we're not going to see in pharmacies anymore. This taking back of drugs and storing them like in the baggies there and stuff. There's procedures on how you can have drugs come back to the pharmacy. Yes?
I just had a quick question on clarification on that generic for, considering 95% of prescriptions are generic.
Yes.
Require generic, doctors now write for generic.
Yes.
Isn't there some type of stipulation it doesn't have to be there?
Yeah, the question is regarding generic for. There on the label, yes, there is an exception in the law. You can look it up. It has to do with if in the professional judgment of the pharmacist, the brand name is no longer used or referred to. And that might be the case for hydrochlorothiazide. You might feel like that's okay. But there could be other drugs like hydrocodone, acetaminophen, that people still call Norco. So maybe that does need to be on there. If the brand name's still on the market, I think it'd be hard to justify not having it on there. But the exception in the law is the professional judgment of the pharmacist. Okay, so what do? Main thing, we follow up on investigations and complaints. We can't always tell you what the investigation is exactly. We're not going to tell you who made the complaint almost always. But after a while, from the questions we ask, you might be able to figure it out. Especially if it has to do with a medication error. Obviously, that's very patient-focused. You'll know what it's about. So that's one of the main things. On every inspection that the board does, we do an inspection report, and we leave a copy with you. And on that report, we document what we've reviewed, and we document our findings. And some things we do just in a section called discussion, which is just documenting that we talked about it. You're not in trouble for it. It's just we talked about it. And I personally, when I go to a pharmacy, I'll look at your last inspection report to see what you talked about. And if last time they said, oh, you weren't doing something right and you should fix this, I would expect now, sometimes 4 years later, that would be fixed. A correction, that's something else, that's another category we have on our inspection reports. And those will be cited by law codes, and that is, it's called an order of correction, and it entails you doing something. We are documenting that there appears to be a violation of pharmacy law here, and we are telling you to fix it. And you usually have to send something to the board inspector who is there documenting that you fixed it. And they'll specify exactly what that is that you need to send. The other category we have is a violation. We call it a written notice, and that's where we're formally documenting. It looks like there's a violation of law here, here's the law, and this is why. And from that, we will do an investigation. So that could be in relation to the one, like with an open investigation, it could be related to that. Or maybe we go in someplace on a routine inspection and there's something like, say, a consultation violation where we have to open an investigation, and we call our supervisor and say, hey, this is what we got. We need to open a complaint investigation, and then we'll go from there. But you'll, at the inspection, be notified that it's formally notifying that there's a violation. There's on the inspection report, the inspector will put comments. We will do an exit interview. I'm not going to leave an inspection with any questions left hanging. You can ask and ask and ask, and I'm not going anywhere until we're both on the same page regarding all the issues, no matter how long that takes. Sometimes that's a while. And then there actually is a section for licensee remarks. So if you wanted to write something on the inspection report, you could. There's a section for that. That's fine. There is also on the bottom of the report an opportunity for you to respond to the section, and it says this, that if you want to supply additional information, you can send it within 14 days. I would say most, or actually almost all of my inspections having to do with an investigation, I get a response. It's very prominently noted in the paperwork that I give. Sometimes it's from the pharmacist's attorney or the company's attorney, but I do get some sort of response, and feel free. We're going to include that response in the report that goes to our supervisor to determine what happens, what the conclusion of that investigation will be. Okay, so if there is enforcement action, I talked about the order of correction. All that's necessary is just provide proof of correction. The violations in a written notice, that is not a citation. Citations come from the board. That's the inspector telling you, hey, it looks like you're breaking the law here. We do a report, we send it to the board. It's reviewed on a couple different levels, and a decision is made. And if they decide to, there's a lot of different ways it can go with violations. It could go to a letter of admonishment. And I have 3 years up there because that's how long the record is kept. These are actually public records that aren't posted, but they are available through a Freedom of Information Public Record Act request. But you can't go onto our website and search your name for these types of things. There can be a citation with no fine, or there could be a citation with a fine. I said they're public records. And these are all enforcement education tools that the board has. The discipline tool, the one that people dread the most, is an accusation. That's actually filed by the Department of Justice. And that's what goes to, if it's a revocation or suspension or probation request, that's how that's done. So when is the PIC responsible for the violation? Well, it's pretty strict liability. They're almost always responsible. They certainly are when it comes to training and system issues. I see this a lot with consultations. I'll watch and they say, you don't want to talk to the pharmacist, do you? And you don't want to talk to the pharmacist, do you? And so I'll find one where it was a new prescription, and the PIC is going to be responsible, even if they're in Hawaii. Welcome back. And then if the PIC commits the violation, they're responsible. And I do the consultation thing a lot, because I was in a pharmacy and the PIC said that she didn't have time for me, she couldn't talk to me, so she gave me a tech to give me anything I needed, and she didn't consult someone. And the technician found it for me, because I kept asking for patient profiles to see, is this a new prescription? Is it a new prescription? Because she's not talking to anyone. Finally, she asked me, she says, what are you looking for? So I'm looking for someone who gets a prescription that they haven't had before. Oh, okay, let me see if I can find one. And so she goes to the register, who is that? Okay, and she keeps checking. Finally, I got one. I don't think she liked her boss much, I don't know. And there's a lot of different cases that can come up. Large losses of controlled substances due to systems issue or security issues, PIC is probably going to be responsible. So we don't have a few on the licensed sterile compounding inspections, and those people in that type of site are very familiar with what we do with inspections because we're there every year. So I list some things up here. There's a whole bunch of laws on that, 1735 and 1751. And you typically will not get the inspector every single year. You might get them for a couple years, but they mix it up a little bit. So I'm not going to go through this. These are the same things that are on this list, which is from the June 2017 issue of the script. But those are a list of some of the things. I think there's 28 or something like that on that list. So does anybody have any questions about this? I know it's hot in here, isn't it? It's not just me? Okay. Yep. Yes, there is one.
So when you were mentioning earlier about the patient's right to know poster.
I'm sorry, say that again?
You mentioned earlier about the patient's right to know poster. And
Yes.
the last line of it is, if it's not here and we'll work with you, right? But
Yeah.
then you also said it's okay to use deception to not fill a prescription.
Okay, so again, my disclaimer, these are my opinions, okay? The question has to do with the notice to consumer poster, and on the bottom, it says that if this pharmacy doesn't have it, the pharmacist will work with you to get your medication. What I said is in the situation where you feel threatened in any way, you can say or do anything so you're not threatened. So that's the case of deception. If you feel that you need to be deceitful to protect yourself or your staff, then I have no issue.
So I'll generally tell someone, I don't have this, but let me call the pharmacy down the street for you.
Well, you're assisting them, right?
Okay, then.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I don't need a microphone.
Okay.
Can you go over what you look for consultation if the assistant or clerk offers the consultation but the patient denies it? So does it have to be a pharmacist right in front of the patient that witnesses the denial?
The law has nothing, doesn't address exactly that. What it says is on certain prescriptions, the pharmacist must consult. So that's it. The pharmacist must consult. Okay? And it's hard for patients to deny something that they don't know what it is they're denying. And the pharmacist has to decide, are they going to accept the denial? Maybe there's situations where the pharmacist believes that it's not safe to dispense this without me talking to the patient. So, but in those places like you're talking about where the matter of practice is for patients to tell them at the register, like when I go into my pharmacy, for instance, they uptalk it a little. How do they say it? They say, I'll get the pharmacist to talk with you. Okay, it's all a game. So, I personally, in my pharmacy, my staff would give you paperwork and they take that bottle and they'd set it on the counter next to me. And they say, you can pick up your prescription from the pharmacist. And they say, oh, I don't need to talk to him. I've already taken it before. I don't need to talk to him. Yeah, great. Let him know when he gives it to you. No problem. Okay. Oh, there's one.
Hi, I'm Geneva. I'm working with the predominantly Latino population. Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish, so I depend on my pharmacy clerks to translate for me. So I have two questions. My first question, what kind of proof do we need to provide for consultation when you come for inspection?
Well, when we come for inspection, if you are talking to the patient either directly or through an interpreter or through an interpretive service over the phone, then that's proof you're consulting. I mean, we obviously can't translate every language to know, but more importantly is the information that you need to provide to the patient being conveyed to the patient. I don't know your clerk, you know your clerk, you can only decide that for yourself, but that's the proof is in the doing.
Okay, my second
Yeah.
question is that sometimes for refills, I'm not obligated to cancel them again, right, unless they ask for. But sometimes my patient will ask my clerk, oh, can you read the label for me in Spanish? So is that considered a violation if they read the
Well,
label for the patient?
you are actually required to translate labels, right, in other languages. So if you have someone who's asking for a translation, I would recommend you make them a new label in the language they want. So again, I don't know your situation, I don't know your clerk or the patient, but you have to use your professional judgment in some of these. But I would say if someone's asking for a label to be translated, the pharmacy law requires you to be able to do that. So I would do that and print them a new label.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh. Okay. I have one up front first, who I can hear.
Okay, we happen to have attorneys within our medical facility. Would you feel intimidated during the inspection if the pharmacist called in their attorneys to be there during the inspection?
No, it's totally fine. It's up to you as to who you would want to be with you, whether it be the CEO of a facility, a compliance officer, a safety officer, the nurse from somewhere, attorney. It's totally up to you. It's fine with us. Yeah, if you want someone with you, not a problem. Yes?
A few slides back, there was a slide that says, are you able to reverse a compound? I wasn't sure what that means.
Well, in sterile compounding, that's just an inspection technique where, for instance, I will ask or I'll look for compounds that have been done, and then I'll go backwards. So I'll see what hood was this in and the certification and who was the staff involved in making it and the training and all this documentation for it. Mm-hmm. And there's one more.
Sorry, I know it sounds repetitive, but again, consultation. So a lot of times when there's a refill request that has been approved, the system reads it as a new prescription. And in a situation where, of course, the lingo is, it looks like this is a new prescription, my pharmacist will go over it with you, and then you get a decline, and the technician, for example, would turn around and say decline consultation.
So,
In that case, and I know that patient had simvastatin 100 times
Uh-huh.
before,
yes.
is that within, is that?
Well, I can't answer every situation, but I can tell you that consultation is required on a new medication the patient hasn't been previously dispensed. But in the very next section, in 1707.3, it says that the pharmacist must review the patient's profile for contraindications, warnings, all this. So why is the clerk thinking it's a new prescription if the pharmacist reviewed the profile? Because they should maybe cross it out. That's what I did. I would just cross out, it's not new. It's a refill. But the consultation law is for medications not previously dispensed to the patient in that, form, strength, dose, like that.
The computer reads it as a new prescription.
But
Just cross it out, and I know while verifying that this is not a new prescription. But better to safeguard myself and just cross it out, not new or anything like that.
that how you practice it in your pharmacy is up to you. I can tell you I like to remove that ambiguity to separate out what was not really needed. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I can hear the up front if you speak loud.
I'll try. For the storage waivers, as far as us storing material, hard copies and stuff at the pharmacy, at what point is the waiver valid for us to get from the board?
Well, you have to have records of controlled substances for 2 years and everything else for 1 year in the pharmacy.
So let's say an item, prescription hard copies have been stored for 7 years, those can be taken to a storage facility?
I see what you're asking, yes. Our regulations having to do with records are for 3 years.
Okay, so the 3 years have to be stored at the pharmacy
Without a waiver,
without a waiver?
yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You could answer these, Lyle.
The last day about consulting family member or caregiver, why the patient is not there, but it's a new prescription for the patient.
Yeah, there's a section, 1707.2. It says when the patient is not present. So for those situations. So
It is obligatory then.
yeah, that's specified in the law. Yeah. Yeah. Okay? Any more questions? We're good. All right.